Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. When did y'all become scouts and talent evaluators to say that Jacurri is 2 years away? Where is this coming from? You know, kind of like how some fans tell other fans that critique coaches that, well, if you're so good, why don't you go be the head coach? Or if you're so good, why are you not dialing up plays? Why is no one blowing up your phone? So my rebuttal is, if you're so good at forecasting how a player is going to progress over a 24-month period, why are you not in someone's scouting department? Why are you not a part of someone's recruiting personnel department? Why are you not the lead recruiter? Why are you not in player relations, right? Why are you going back and forth with me on Facebook and other media forums if you're that good? Okay. But Jacurri, right? The write-up on Jacurri coming out was that, hey, he struggles throwing the football. He needs to work on his accuracy, right? So the same thing could be said about Vince Young and Cam Newton. I don't think anyone could say that once Cam Newton and Vince Young were drafted, that the issues throwing the football were alleviated. They were just so good. They weren't Tim Tebow, but they were just so good to the point that you had to, they warranted being drafted. I mean, they did. And so if those are the particular comps that you want to put on a player, then you got to understand that there are going to be some type of shortcomings that come with it. Now, am I saying that Jacurri could not surpass Cam and Vince Young at being a passer? Sure, right? Again, my comp was somewhere a little bit better than Colin Klein, because I don't want to put a Heisman Trophy winning too high. Well, Vince didn't win the Heisman, but I mean, it's debatable. You know, you could debate who had the better year, he or Reggie Bush, or who was more important to their team, right? But, you know, that's a different award for that, right? But we're talking about two of the greatest quarterbacks that have played in college football in the last 25, 30 years. That's the comp. And both of them had the flaw of not being as accurate of a passer. So the reality of the situation is that's the biggest knock on Jacurri. And we know that the end result for Vince and Cam were that they still were being plagued by that. Then how can you say that a person is 2 years away? You know, my thing is this. You don't get better at playing football in a game setting unless you're playing in a game setting. There's only so many situations that you can mimic in practice, right? It's only so many situations you can mimic in practice. Now, to me, the reality of the situation is, if we're going into 2023 and we're having a truly open competition at quarterback, who's to say that Jacurri cannot win? Who's to say that Jacurri cannot develop enough to put us in that particular situation? Because you got pros and cons with all of this, man. You got pros and cons with all this. You got the pros with a dual threat quarterback of the defense has to respect that. The end guy has to, you know, maybe kind of trail back, because if we're running like a, you know, a run play, he just can't run down the running back from the back. He has to take that slight, you know, pause to make sure that, hey, the quarterback doesn't have the ball. Okay, then I can continue, you know, pursuing the ball carrier, right? But if he keeps it and I crash down, then I got to do it. Now, you also may have a situation where that dual threat quarterback may not be that accurate of a passer. And when you need the needle threaded, when it's fourth and 7, and he needs to make that slant route, he just flat out misses it. I mean, you're gonna have that. And on the flip side, with the pro stuff, you know, with the guy that's looked at as a great passer, that 4th and 7, you have no worries that he's gonna make it. But in a situation where, you know, the end has been crashing down because he realizes that, hey, I can play both of you. I can play the quarterback and I can play the running back, because you're not that big of a threat of a runner, right? So it's pros and cons. There's no perfect ideal quarterback, because it's pros and cons with everything, right? But my thing is this: if those are the comps that you wanna have, then I don't look at Jacurri and say Jacurri is 2 years away. What I feel like is that you have to put a system in place that is going to benefit Jacurri to really stand out and do what it is that he's really good at, right? We know he's good with his legs, right? We know this, right? I feel like that he's a fairly decent passer. Again, I don't really know what y'all are judging this by, because I think y'all set the barometer just extremely too high. It's only so many guys can make NFL throws. It's only so many guys that can throw with the type of anticipation that you have. And that's what separates our conference and national award winners from the rest of the pack. So while you may want Jacurri to be something and you're saying, well, hey, he's not ready until he can do these particular different things, again, you got to stop and look at the comp that you put him up against. Now, if you would have said that, hey, for some of the people that are older, maybe say like, well, he's going to turn into be somewhat of a passer like maybe what Hendon Hooker is doing right now. Okay, then that's a completely different evaluation, right? Or if you feel like that, okay, he could turn into a situation where, you know, Andrew Luck was a guy, even though under Jim Harbaugh, Andrew Luck would run the football. And he could throw the ball too, right? Robert Griffin III was a fairly good passer. So again, what the comp is going to tell you what it is. Now, if you're saying he's going to become Andrew Luck, then yeah, he might do the 2 years. But in 2 years' time, I don't think it takes 2 years' time for him to be from a throwing standpoint, because the impact is a completely different thing, right? I think if we're talking about impact, then yeah, it may take 2 years for him to actually come in and have the type of impact that maybe a Vince Young and a Cam Newton have for their respective units. But just as far as just the basics, throwing the football and being a threat with the run and things like that, then I think that's that. But I will say this in reference to the Vince Young as well as the Cam Newton thing. Both of those guys were dual threat quarterbacks, but both of those, it's not like those guys were playing behind Swiss cheese offensive lines. So we remember the groundbreaking runs and all of those great things that they did, but they also had some talent, up front, and they also had some talent on the outside. So it wasn't a one-man deal. So, that's what that is. But with that said, got some people that have pegged that, hey, he's gonna be the quarterback that gets us our next national championship. So, hey, I'm not touching that. I want to let the guy do what he does, and hopefully, if we do have an open competition, he has every opportunity to become the starting quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes for the 2023 season, and that kind of maybe puts us in the driver's seat for him to have a even better 2024 season if the chips fall like that. And if we do have a situation where we're utilizing both quarterbacks, whoever the offensive coordinator is, I hope that if Jacurri is coming off the bench, that we're not coming in and doing the standard stereotypical stuff, because you're not helping his growth and development by running the football. If you feel that he needs to be a threat throwing the football, right? But anyway, as always, man, comment down below, man. What do you guys think? Do you guys think he's really 2 years away if the comp that you're using is Vince Young and Cam Newton? Right? Because honestly, to me, if we're using 2 year away, then I feel like the comp has to be a much better passer. But that's just me. But as always, man, it's all about the you. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.